You are warm, a thick, soupy, salty warmth. It is the only thing you have ever known. There is no light, only a dull, crimson glow filtered through layers of flesh and fluid. There is no sound, only a low, rhythmic thunder that vibrates through your entire being. It is the beat of a heart the size of a small boulder. This is your world. A cramped, dark, pulsing prison. And for now, it is safe. But the walls are closing in. The rhythmic thunder that has been your life's metronome is becoming erratic, a frantic drum solo signaling an eviction notice. Pressure builds. A slow, inexorable squeeze that is both terrifying and, in a strange way, relieving. Something is ending. Something is beginning. You are pushed, squeezed, and then a sudden, shocking cold. A blinding, painful light. The rhythmic thunder is gone, replaced by a chaotic roar of water and a ringing in your newly formed ears. You gasp, not for air, but in shock. The water, once your warm blanket, is now a cold, abrasive shock against your slick, new skin. You have been born. Consciousness arrives. A brief, flickering candle of awareness in an abyss of instinct. And so it begins. Welcome, you absolute masterpiece of poor evolutionary timing. Official designation, Leviathan Melville. The name is a clumsy Frankenstein of human references, stitched together millions of years after you've turned to stone. One part for a mythological sea monster they invented to scare themselves. Another for a man who wrote a ponderously long novel about your much, much smaller and less impressive cousins. It's a joke you're not in on. But to the world that will eventually discover your fossilized remains, you will simply be Leviathan. A name that promises apocalyptic power and biblical grandeur. A name, as we are about to see, that is a tragically oversized coat for a life that is nasty, brutish, and above all, pointless. Your first sensation as a sentient being is pain. The salt stings your eyes. The pressure of the deep ocean feels like a physical weight trying to crush your bones before they've even fully hardened. Your grand entrance into the world was not a gentle affair. You were unceremoniously squeezed out into the open ocean like paste from a tube, a 10-foot-long, blubber-wrapped sausage of helpless potential. You are a feast waiting to happen. Slick with blood and birthing fluid, you are a floating dinner bell in a world populated exclusively by things that want to eat you. This aroma, the coppery tang of new life, travels fast in the warm Miocene water. It is an invitation. And the guests are already arriving. Your mother, a 60-foot-long engine of pure, indiscriminate destruction, is nearby. She is exhausted and fantastically irritable from the ordeal of expelling you. You look towards her, instinct screaming that this colossal shape is safety. But her eyes, small and black and utterly devoid of warmth, betray a different calculation. She is weighing the caloric value of the bloody mess she just created against the effort required to protect it. Affection is a luxury your species cannot afford. For a terrifying moment, you are not her child. You are a potential appetizer. This is your introduction to familial love, a brief, terrifying cost-benefit analysis. Fortunately for you, a more immediate threat makes the decision for her. From the hazy blue distance, shapes resolve. Gray, sleek, and utterly silent, they are sharks. But to call them sharks is an insult to their sheer, brutal perfection. These are Carcharocles megalodon, an entire committee of them, drawn by the scent of your birth. They see you not as a newborn, but as a conveniently packaged meal, a tender veal cutlet of the sea. Your first lesson in this world isn't about swimming or breathing or finding your place in the grand cosmic order. It is about dodging. Your mother, motivated less by maternal instinct and more by a deep-seated hatred for anything that isn't her, lets out a guttural roar that boils the water in front of her. She pivots her massive body and brings her tail down on the lead shark. The sound is not a splash. It is a wet, percussive explosion, a sound of immense pressure meeting bone and cartilage. The water around you vaporizes into a red mist filled with teeth and shredded cartilage. A cloud of chum that was, a moment ago, an apex predator. This is your first family portrait, a backdrop of gore, a soundtrack of panicked thrashing, and you, caught in the middle, utterly bewildered. She has saved you, not out of love, but because she didn't want the sharks to have you. There's a difference. The lesson is seared into your nascent consciousness. The world is a restaurant, and you just stumbled onto the menu. Your juvenile years are one long, continuous panic attack. You are a fleshy, vulnerable torpedo in a sea of guided missiles. Your primary strategy for survival is laughably simple. The biological equivalent of a get-rich-quick scheme. Get too big to fail. Your entire existence is devoted to a single, desperate goal. Rapid, absurd expansion. You are a living, breathing startup company, and your only product is more of you. You must shovel fuel into your furnace at a prodigious rate. Your prey consists of the smaller, dumber, and slower inhabitants of the sea. Fish, squid, and, most satisfyingly, the smaller species of whales that clutter the ocean. They are your building blocks, the raw materials for your ever-expanding fortress of blubber. But hunting, for you, is not the elegant, calculated ballet of lesser predators. It is a series of clumsy, brutal, and often comical failures. Your primary weapon is echolocation, a biological sonar that is both a miracle and a curse. You emit a series of powerful clicks from your head. The sound waves travel out, bounce off objects, and return to your jaw, painting a picture of the world in your mind. It's a phenomenal tool. The only downside is that it's the equivalent of kicking open a saloon door and screaming, "I'm here to kill one of you," before you've even unholstered your pistol. Subtlety is not in your toolbox. Your early attempts at securing a meal are pathetic. You send out your clicks, locate a plump, slow-moving cetacean, and charge. More often than not, you misjudge the distance and ram headfirst into a coral reef, stunning yourself and alerting every other creature in a 5-mile radius that the idiot is trying to hunt again. You bite your own tongue with teeth designed to shear through bone. You pursue a fish with such single-minded ferocity that you breach the surface, launching yourself into the terrifying, air-filled void before crashing back down in a belly flop that sends a shockwave of shame through your entire body. You are a multi-ton adolescent learning to drive a car with a rocket engine and no brakes. Each failure is a lesson written in pain and hunger. All the while, the shadow is there. The constant, silent threat in the periphery of your vision. The megalodon. In your youth, it is bigger than you. Faster than you. It is the living embodiment of failure's consequences. It doesn't hunt you with passion. It stalks you with the cold, patient certainty of a debt collector. Every moment of rest is a moment of vulnerability. Every clumsy hunting attempt is an advertisement of your incompetence. You learn to sleep with one eye open, drifting in the currents, your brain half awake, always listening for the telltale water displacement of a silent, approaching torpedo of teeth. The relationship is simple. For now, you are its potential lunch. Your only hope is that, one day, you will be so astonishingly, impractically large that it will have to cross you off its shopping list. Your survival isn't about being smart or cunning. It's about being a less appealing meal than someone else. It is a race to become too much trouble to be worth eating. And then, one day, it happens. You win the race. You have successfully converted countless lesser creatures into a mountain of muscle and blubber. You are now 60 feet long. You weigh 50 tons. Your head, a third of your body length, is a biological battering ram, a living wrecking ball. Your teeth, once small and fragile, are now 14-inch daggers of enamel and dentin, the largest of any animal that has ever lived. They are not for chewing. They are for seizing, for breaking, for turning living things into manageable, bleeding chunks. You have reached the peak. You are an apex predator. The undisputed, uncontested tyrant of the Miocene seas. The world, which was once a terrifying gauntlet of threats, has transformed into your personal larder. The megalodons, those gray ghosts that haunted your youth, now give you a wide, respectful berth. They see you, their own internal calculus of risk versus reward flashes red, and they veer away. The feeling is not pride. It is something deeper. a profound, bone-deep sense of quiet that you have never known. The constant, thrumming anxiety of being hunted has finally ceased. You are the terror now. You spend your days in a state of glorious, sociopathic bliss. Your life is a simple, beautiful loop: hunt, kill, eat, rest. You patrol your vast, liquid kingdom with the serene confidence of a monarch who knows, with absolute certainty, that there are no assassins left in the court. You have no bills to pay, no tedious social obligations, no nagging existential dread. You have achieved the evolutionary dream, a life free of predators and full of calories. It seems perfect. A well-earned retirement into a life of casual, murderous leisure. But evolution is a cynical playwright. It builds you up just to knock you down with a twist so cruel, so utterly idiotic, that it borders on comedy. Just when you have achieved a state of perfect, solitary equilibrium, a new, deeply inconvenient urge begins to bubble up from the depths of your ancient hindbrain. It is an itch you can't scratch, a biological imperative that cares nothing for your hard-won peace. The need to mate. This is the ironic twist. The only thing more dangerous, more stressful, and more utterly pointless than being hunted is the biological mandate to create more of yourself. Suddenly, your magnificent solitude is shattered. The appearance of a lone female in your territory is a cataclysm. It is not a welcome sight. It is a harbinger of chaos. Because where there is one female, there will soon be others. Other males. Huge, aggressive, and just as desperate as you are. Your peaceful, oceanic kingdom is instantly transformed into a gladiatorial arena. The contests are not polite displays of dominance. They are demolition derbies. They are head-on collisions at 20 knots, the sickening crunch of skull against skull echoing for miles. They are brutal, flesh-tearing, jaw-snapping brawls that churn the sea into a bloody foam. The goal is not just to win, but to incapacitate, to maim, to drive your rival away, or to kill him outright. All for what? For a few brief, clumsy, and violent moments of aquatic copulation. There is no romance here, no tender connection. It is a biological transaction, a messy and brutal data transfer. And your reward for risking life and limb? The female, having gotten what she needed, wants nothing more to do with you. You are left bleeding, bruised, with cracked teeth and a splitting headache, more alone than ever before. You have risked total annihilation for a prize you will never know, for offspring you will never see. This is the punchline of your existence. You climb to the top of the food chain only to discover your greatest enemy is yourself. Your own biology is a saboteur, forcing you into pointless, self-destructive conflicts that undermine the very peace you fought so hard to secure. The peak is a high place from which to fall, and the fall is long, slow, and deeply humiliating. Your reign, which felt so absolute, was merely a lease, and the landlord of time has come to collect. The decline begins not with a bang, but with a dull ache. The decades of brutal living, of smashing your head against prey and rivals, of absorbing the shocks of a violent life, have taken their toll. You are a walking, swimming ledger of past traumas. Your teeth, those magnificent ivory daggers that were once the envy of the ocean, are now a gallery of failure. They are worn down to blunt, yellowed stumps. Some are cracked from a misjudged attack decades ago. Others are gone completely, ripped out in a territorial dispute, leaving a whistling gap in your jaw. You, the mighty Leviathan, are becoming gummy. This is not just a cosmetic issue. It is a professional catastrophe. You are a gunslinger losing his trigger finger, a surgeon developing a tremor. Hunting the large, blubbery whales that once formed the cornerstone of your diet becomes a frustrating ordeal. You can still catch them, but you can no longer grip them effectively. They thrash and tear free from your failing grasp, leaving you with nothing but a mouthful of water and a throbbing sense of your own inadequacy. Your other great weapon, your sonar, also begins to betray you. The world, once a crisp, clear map of clicks and echoes, becomes a muffled, indistinct fog. It's like trying to navigate a familiar room after the lights have been dimmed to almost nothing. You start missing things. A school of fish that should have been an easy snack. A reef that you bump into with embarrassing frequency. You are becoming a parody of your former self, a relic cruising on the fumes of a fearsome reputation. Your status falls. Younger, stronger males, their teeth pristine and their sonar sharp, now view you not with fear, but with contempt. They muscle you out of prime hunting grounds, their aggressive postures a clear signal that your time is over. You do not fight back. The calculus of risk has inverted. So you retreat to the margins, a deposed king living in exile, hunting smaller, less satisfying prey. The humiliation is a constant, bitter taste in your mouth. And then comes the final indignity, the return of an old ghost. It is a megalodon, not one of the old, cautious behemoths that knew to fear you in your prime. This one is young, arrogant, and it has no memory of your glory days. It sees not a king, but a large, slow-moving piece of meat that seems to be struggling. It begins to circle you, not with the frantic energy of an attack, but with the lazy, confident patience of an auditor examining a failing business. It makes a few exploratory bumps, testing your reaction. You try to respond, to summon the old fury, to show it the monster you used to be. You let out a roar, but it's a shadow of its former power, a gravelly, weak protest. You swing your tail, but the movement is slow, ponderous. The shark is not impressed. It sees you for what you are, a ruin. The fear you have spent your entire life escaping has found you again at the very end. The roles have reversed. You are the hunted once more. Your end is not a scene from a grand tragedy. There is no final, epic battle against your nemesis, no defiant last stand. Your death is small, pathetic, and deeply ironic. Perhaps the young shark, bored of its game, finally takes a decisive bite, and the resulting infection slowly turns your own body against you. Or perhaps, in a fit of stubborn pride, you attempt to hunt one last large whale, only for it to smash your already cracked jaw with a defensive flick of its tail. Most likely, however, you simply starve. Your worn teeth and failing sonar render you incapable of catching enough food to fuel your colossal engine. You grow weaker, slower, until you can do nothing more than drift on the currents, a 50-ton ghost haunted by the memory of strength. Your final moments are spent in the vast, indifferent silence of the open ocean. And then, you stop. The great furnace inside you goes out. Your massive body, which once terrorized this entire marine world, begins its final, slow descent. You sink, down, through the sunlit zone, past the twilight realm, and into the abyssal, eternal darkness. You land with a soft thud on the ocean floor, sending up a plume of ancient sediment. You, the apex predator, the king of the sea, are now just a geographic feature. A temporary mountain of protein in a world of perpetual hunger. But your story isn't quite over. It just ceases to be about you. Your corpse becomes a gift. A sudden, unexpected windfall for an entire ecosystem of scavengers. Hagfish, those slimy, writhing nightmares of the deep, burrow into your flesh. Sleeper sharks, ancient and slow, arrive to tear off massive chunks of blubber. An entire universe of crabs, worms, and bacteria descends upon you, colonizing your remains in a riotous explosion of life. Your bones are stripped clean, your mighty skeleton becoming a reef of opportunity. This is your legacy. Your entire life of violence and struggle, your rise and your fall, has been reduced to a chemical transaction on the seafloor. You have become a long-lasting snack. And as the last piece of cartilage is being diligently gnawed from your colossal skull by a bone-eating snot-flower worm miles above you, in the warm, sunlit waters, the cycle begins anew. A female of your species, sleek and powerful, endures the agony of birth. In a cloud of blood and panic, a new calf is born. A new ewe takes its first terrified gasp and begins its own identical, arduous, and ultimately meaningless journey toward becoming a future meal for worms. So, that was your life. A 40-year cycle of mindless violence, culminating in becoming food for worms. You were the biggest, baddest thing in a world full of monsters. and your reward was to die alone and be forgotten completely. Congratulations. So, that's your life. A short, brutal, and ultimately meaningless cycle, repeated ad nauseum. You'd think that would be enough tragedy for one creature. You'd think being erased by time and geology would be the final insult. But you were unlucky. You were unlucky because you left bones. And millions of years later, another, even more problematic primate evolved, learned to walk on two legs, and started digging. And that's when your personal, biological tragedy became a historical catastrophe. That's when your real problems began. Your second life, your posthumous existence, begins with an act of erosion. For 9 million years, you have been resting peacefully, a fossilized monument to a forgotten age, buried under tons of what would one day become the Ica Desert in Peru. Then, one day, a storm, or perhaps just the patient, relentless wind, wears away the last layer of sandstone protecting your tomb. A piece of your jawbone, a massive fragment still studded with a single, 14-inch tooth, is exposed to the sun for the first time since the Miocene. It doesn't lie there for long. It is found by a group of apes. Primitive, superstitious, and utterly terrified. They approach the object cautiously. They have never seen anything like it. It is too large to be from any animal they know. The tooth is the size of a man's head. Its serrated edges are still sharp enough, in their fossilized state, to inspire a deep, instinctual dread. Their first thought is not scientific. It is not analytical. It is pure, unadulterated terror. They cannot conceive of the animal it came from. Therefore, it cannot be an animal. It must be a piece of a god, or a demon, or both. In that moment, you, a long extinct whale, are reborn. You are promoted, without your consent, to the position of local sea deity. It's a job with no salary, no benefits, and unlimited liability. These strange bipedal creatures, who live in crude huts and whose primary cultural achievement is learning not to starve on a regular basis, are now the sole arbiters of your legacy. They project all their fears, all their anxieties about the vast, unpredictable ocean onto your fossilized remains. You, who spent your life worrying about megalodons and territorial disputes, are now retroactively blamed for every storm that sinks their flimsy reed boats. You are the great devourer, the eater of tides, the monstrous entity responsible for their own maritime incompetence. Your new identity has been forged in the crucible of their ignorance. Being worshipped, you quickly discover, is not as glamorous as it sounds. It is, in fact, a prelude to being exploited. Your divine status does not grant your remains any special protection. On the contrary, it makes them a target. The village shaman, a man whose primary skill is looking authoritative while spouting nonsense, declares that pieces of your divine body possess great power. He isn't wrong, technically. Your fossilized teeth are incredibly dense, but not in a way that's useful. They are too brittle to be made into effective tools. A sharp flint axe is infinitely more practical than a divine tooth that shatters on impact. But practicality is not the point. Symbolism is. Small fragments are chipped away from your magnificent dental arsenal. They are not used to build better huts or carve better canoes. They are polished, drilled through, and worn as amulets. Your weapons of mass destruction, capable of shearing through the spine of a 10-ton whale, have become cheap, ominous jewelry. They are worn to ward off evil spirits, to ensure a good catch, or to cure mysterious ailments. Your power has been reduced to the level of a rabbit's foot. The first hunt against you is not a hunt at all. It's a ritualistic charade. The shaman holds up a piece of your tooth before the fishermen set out, chanting appeals for your mercy. When they return with a bountiful catch, it is proof of your benevolence. When they return with empty nets, it is proof of your anger. The outcome is irrelevant. Your divine narrative accommodates all possibilities. You are the perfect scapegoat. Your usefulness lies in your silence. Did the crops fail due to a drought? It is the sea god demanding a sacrifice. Did a disease sweep through the village? The sea god is displeased. You, a fossil buried 50 feet under the Peruvian desert, are somehow micromanaging the agricultural and public health crises of a tribe of primates who live hundreds of miles away. It's a remarkable amount of influence for a dead whale. You have become a villain by proxy, a convenient monster to blame for a world they find confusing and hostile. Your entire biological history, your struggles, your brief reign as king, has been completely overwritten. You are now the divine antagonist in their story, a necessary evil that gives their own existence a sense of cosmic importance. It is the first chapter of your tragic relationship with humanity, and it sets a bleak precedent. To be noticed by them is to be misunderstood, and to be worshipped by them is to be used. The centuries crawl by. The primitive tribe that first deified you has vanished, replaced by other cultures, other empires. But your legend persists. It becomes a hardy, adaptable myth, passed down, embellished, and absorbed into new belief systems. Your shape, once vaguely imagined from a single jawbone, is now codified. You are given scales, extra heads, fiery breath. You become less prehistoric whale and more generic sea dragon. By the time the medieval and early modern world dawns, your identity has been thoroughly laundered of all biological truth. You have graduated from a local god to a global menace. On the new, painstakingly drawn maps of the world, cartographers are faced with a problem: the ocean. It is vast, empty, and terrifyingly unknown. They fill these empty spaces not with data, but with fear. And you are the star of that fear. In the middle of the Atlantic, in the uncharted waters of the Pacific, they draw your likeness, a coiling, monstrous serpent with a maw full of impossible teeth. And alongside it, they write the now famous warning, "Here be dragons." Or, more accurately, "Here be Leviathan." You are the official mascot of the great unknown. This isn't just an artistic flourish. It's a statement of intent. The world is divided into the known and the monstrous, the realm of man and the realm of you. With the consolidation of organized religion, your reputation takes an even darker turn. You are no longer just a physical hazard. You are a metaphysical one. Scholars and priests identify you with the Leviathan from the Book of Job, a creature of pure chaos, a symbol of primordial evil that opposes divine order. You are now an enemy of God himself, a beast that must be, and will be, conquered for humanity's salvation to be complete. Your new job title is Justification. Humans, in their ever-expanding greed, have discovered a new ocean resource: your living descendants. The great whales, the sperm whales, the right whales, the bowheads, are swimming treasuries of oil, meat, and bone. And so, the age of whaling begins. But to launch an entire industry based on the systematic slaughter of these magnificent creatures requires a certain psychological lubricant. And that's where you come in. You, the mythical, God-defying monster, become the spiritual archetype for every whale they hunt. Each whaler setting out from Nantucket or New Bedford is not merely a factory worker on the high seas. He is a crusader. He is, in his own mind, going to war against you. He is reenacting the cosmic battle between order and chaos, between man and monster. The pathetic, terrified sperm whale he is chasing is just your modern, diminished stand-in. This narrative transforms a grubby, horrifically brutal industrial process into a heroic quest. It makes the slaughter noble. The you that your kind once inspired has been perverted into a commercial imperative. The life of a great whale is no longer measured in its power or its majesty, but in barrels of oil meticulously recorded in a captain's ledger. You are the ghost that haunts this bloody enterprise, the monstrous excuse for an unprecedented campaign of extermination. The systematic misery of your cousins is powered by human ingenuity. Their technological progress is a death sentence for your kind. The fight, which was never fair to begin with, becomes a one-sided, industrial-scale slaughter. Gone are the days of men in small boats throwing handheld harpoons and hoping for the best. Now come the harpoon cannons, fired from the decks of steam-powered ships. These cannons fire explosive-tipped harpoons that detonate inside the whale's body, turning its internal organs into a pressure-cooked slurry. It is a technology of unimaginable cruelty, designed to kill faster and more efficiently, maximizing profit and minimizing the already slim chance of the whale's escape. Your descendants face a level of violence you could never have conceived. Your battles were swift, brutal, and honest. Theirs is a drawn-out, torturous execution. They are chased for days on end by relentless factory ships, vast floating slaughterhouses that can process a 50-ton whale in a matter of hours. The ocean, which was your kingdom, has become their abattoir. The very fabric of their society is shredded. Pod structures that have existed for millennia are shattered. Mothers are killed in front of their calves, their desperate cries echoing as they are winched up the stern slipway to be flensed. The calves, confused and orphaned, often linger near the ships, making them easy targets for the next volley. The human expansion across the globe means there is no sanctuary. As they chart every ocean, they bring their floating factories with them, from the icy waters of the Antarctic to the warm breeding grounds of the tropics. The fight is no longer about survival. It's about extermination for profit. Your mythical status, the very thing that made you a legend, has become the deadliest curse for your entire family line. The fear you inspired did not make them leave the ocean alone. It did the opposite. It fueled their desire to conquer it, to tame it, to render every last monster into a marketable commodity. They hunted your relatives with a fervor reserved for holy wars, all the while telling themselves they were brave adventurers taming the wild. The deeply ironic summary of this age is that your strength was repurposed to build the empires that would fund the very tools used to destroy your habitat and your lineage. Your beauty, your power, your sheer awe-inspiring size, the very qualities that made you a legend, became the primary reasons for your family's near-total annihilation. They didn't just want the oil in the whale's heads. They wanted to kill the monster in their own. And so they did, by the tens of thousands, leaving a wake of blood and silence that stretched across every ocean on the planet. Another few centuries pass. The fires of the whaling industry have burned themselves out, not due to a sudden surge of conscience, but because they had simply run out of fuel. They had killed so many of your relatives that it was no longer profitable to hunt the few that remained. Then, in the year 2008, in the bone-dry deserts of Peru, a team of those same primates finds something remarkable. A skull. A nearly complete, 10-foot-long skull, so perfectly preserved it looks like it was buried only yesterday. It is your skull, after millions of years of mythological slander and posthumous proxy wars. You are finally, officially discovered. The reaction is not one of religious awe or superstitious terror. It is one of cold, clinical curiosity. You are no longer a god or a demon. You are a specimen. A data point. You are carefully excavated, crated up, and shipped to a laboratory. There, you are measured, cataloged, and analyzed. Every curve of your jaw, every detail of your skull, is fed into a computer. They give you your clumsy, formal name, Leviathan Melville. Your resurrection is complete. You have been redefined for the modern age. Your new identity is swiftly established. You are reborn, not in flesh, but in pixels. Computer-generated imagery brings you back to life for their television specials. You are cast, almost immediately, as the villain. The brutish, hyper-aggressive foil to their other prehistoric darling, the megalodon. You are depicted in lurid, speculative battles, smashing and biting in glorious high definition. Your complex life of survival and struggle is flattened into a single, marketable characteristic: mindless violence. You become a logo for prehistoric ferocity, a cool monster to be printed on t-shirts and used to sell tickets to museum exhibits. Your existence is reduced to a series of fun facts for children and a thrilling antagonist for their documentaries. You have been successfully defanged, declawed, and repackaged for mass consumption. Your final job in this new, enlightened age is to inspire guilt. Having driven your modern relatives to the very brink of oblivion, humanity has decided, with a great deal of self-congratulatory fanfare, that this was a bad thing. And you, the biggest, baddest, and most spectacular member of your family, become the ultimate poster child for their newfound remorse. You are the symbol of all that they have lost, the ghost of a world they destroyed. You are no longer a monster to be conquered, but a tragedy to be mourned. Your magnificent, fossilized skull, the very epicenter of your being, is mounted in a museum. It is placed under soft, dramatic lighting, behind a velvet rope, accompanied by a small plaque detailing your estimated size and ferocity. You are now an official spectacle, an object of quiet, passive contemplation. And the humans come in droves. They stand before you, these soft, fragile descendants of the apes who once chipped away at your bones for amulets, and then systematically slaughtered your family for lamp oil. They stare up at your silent, grinning jaw, and they feel something. It is a fleeting, comfortable sadness. They sip their overpriced coffee from the museum cafe and murmur to each other about the tragedy of your extinction. They talk about the majesty of nature and the importance of conservation. They feel a pleasant, manageable pang of guilt. It is guilt without consequence, a sanitized, second-hand remorse for sins committed by their ancestors, for which they bear no personal responsibility. This allows them to feel virtuous, to feel like they are the good ones for simply acknowledging the bad things that other people did. You, in your silent, stony repose, are the perfect catalyst for this shallow emotional transaction. Look how far we've come. Your silent presence allows them to think, we would never do such a thing today. This is, of course, a comforting lie. This prison of kindness, as it were, extends to your few surviving relatives. Conservation, from your perspective, must look like the universe's most elaborate practical joke. Your cousins, the sperm whales and the humpbacks, are now protected. This means they are tracked by satellites, tagged with scientific instruments, and observed by whale-watching boats full of tourists armed with cameras. They are saved from the explosive harpoon, only to have their ocean home choked with the plastic garbage, deafened by the constant thrum of container ship engines, and poisoned by the chemical runoff of the very civilization that purports to be their savior. They are safe from being turned into oil, but their food sources are collapsing due to overfishing. Their migration routes are becoming treacherous obstacle courses of shipping lanes and naval sonar tests that can deafen and disorient them. They have been moved from a slaughterhouse into a beautifully decorated, but slowly flooding prison. For you, the prison is more literal. It is the museum hall. Your magnificent remains, which once navigated a pristine, vibrant ocean, are now a static tourist attraction, gathering dust under the hum of the HVAC system. You are an exhibit, stripped of all context, power, and life, serving as a permanent backdrop for your destroyer's descendants to take selfies. Your eternal rest has been permanently interrupted, so that you can serve as a prop in their ongoing performance of caring. It is the ultimate collateral damage, to be preserved, but for all the wrong reasons. The final, most profound irony of your long, posthumous existence is the sheer, breathtaking hypocrisy of it all. After mythologizing you into a demon, using that myth to justify the industrial-scale annihilation of your entire family, and then repackaging your memory into a commercial product, they now cast themselves as your greatest champions. They spend millions of dollars to preserve your bones. They create international commissions to manage the pathetic remnants of your lineage. They write mournful songs and produce heartfelt documentaries about the tragedy of what was lost. And all this allows them to feel good about themselves. It allows them to neatly separate their present, enlightened selves from their past, barbaric selves, without ever having to fundamentally change the behavior that caused the problem in the first place. The very economic systems that were built on the oil of your cousins now pollute the oceans with carbon and chemicals, causing the water to warm and acidify, threatening the very plankton that forms the base of the entire marine food web. They save the whales with one hand while methodically destroying the planet with the other. Your tragic legacy, the grand finale, is to be the star of this elaborate, self-congratulatory apology tour. You are the ultimate symbol of their capacity for selective memory. You allow them to weep over the wreckage they created, to feel a sense of profound loss, and then to get back into their fossil fuel-powered vehicles and drive home, feeling cleansed. The final, cynical truth of your long relationship with humanity is this: they did not value you when you were alive. They did not value your family when they were plentiful. They only began to value you when you were gone, and your cousins were almost gone, because your absence became more valuable than your presence ever was. Your absence could be mined for guilt, for art, for virtue signaling, for museum admissions. You are more useful to them as a tragic memory than you ever were as a living creature. You weren't just driven to extinction by the relentless march of time. You were resurrected by human curiosity only to be exploited all over again. This time not for your body, but for your story. And the worst part, the final, bitter punchline, is that you don't even get a cut of the profits from the gift shop. Your terrifying image, your legacy of power and violence, is now printed on a coffee mug, sold for $15.95. The irony deepens when you consider the language they use. They speak of you with a kind of reverence, a hushed awe. Imagine the power, they say, standing before your mounted skull. Imagine the world it lived in. They fetishize your raw, primal force, the very thing they have spent their entire history trying to tame and eradicate, whether it was in whales or wolves or forests, or in themselves. They long for a wildness they are actively destroying. You are a safe way for them to experience this thrill. You are a monster behind glass. You can be appreciated without being feared. You can be marveled at without having to face the terrifying reality of what it would mean to share a planet with a creature like you. The truth is, if you were alive today, they would not be building museums in your honor. They would be launching military operations. Your existence would be incompatible with their global shipping lanes, their offshore oil rigs, their submarine fiber optic cables. You would be deemed a threat to maritime commerce. Scientists would scramble to tag and track you, not out of pure curiosity, but to predict your movements and warn vessels. Governments would hold emergency sessions to decide how to manage you. You would be a problem to be solved. And they are, above all, a species of problem solvers. The solution would likely be swift, efficient, and lethal. The same species that mourns your extinction would, out of perceived necessity, orchestrate a new one. Your modern legacy is therefore built on a foundation of profound dishonesty. They celebrate your power because it is safely confined to the past. They can love the idea of you because they don't have to deal with the reality of you. This sentimental hypocrisy is the final, most advanced form of your exploitation. It is a quiet, bloodless conquest. They have conquered your memory, they have annexed your story, and repurposed it to fit their own narrative of redemption. They look at your bones and see a reflection of their own capacity for wonder and their own potential for change, conveniently ignoring the fact that they are looking at evidence of their unparalleled talent for destruction. You have become the ultimate ecological platitude, a grand, toothy symbol invoked to make them feel thoughtful and concerned, while the real-world destruction continues unabated just outside the museum's doors. Your silence is their greatest asset. It allows them to put words in your mouth, to make you the narrator of a story in which they are the heroes who learned their lesson just in time. But the lesson was never learned. The only thing that changed was the object of their consumption. Once it was your family's oil. Now it is your tragic and very profitable story. You see, your tragedy isn't that you went extinct. Everything goes extinct. That's the grand, brutal rule of the game you played so well for a time. Your tragedy is that you were rediscovered. Your tragedy is that your bones were durable enough to last until the age of apes with PowerPoint presentations and marketing departments. If your bones had dissolved, if your memory had been truly erased, you would have been granted the dignity of oblivion. A clean ending, but you were unlucky enough to leave a record. And that record was found by the universe's most relentless and self-absorbed storytellers. They took your simple, violent life and your quiet, geological death, and they projected onto it all of their own anxieties, their own guilt, their own heroic fantasies. They can't help it. It's what they do. They are narrative creatures. They need a beginning, a middle, and an end. They need a hero and a villain. They need a moral. You were posthumously cast in all of these roles at once. You are the villain in their CGI documentaries. You are the tragic hero in their conservation narratives. And the moral of your story is always, ultimately, about them. It's about their past mistakes and their future hopes. Your existence has been fully assimilated. You are no longer Leviathan Melville, a creature of the Miocene. You are now a piece of human culture, a property, as well-defined and thoroughly utilized as the myths of ancient Greece or the plays of their most famous bards. Your final resting place is not the deep ocean floor where your body came to rest. It is a display case, a server farm hosting digital renders, and the shallow, sentimental corners of the human psyche. And there you will remain, a silent, grinning testament not to the power of nature, but to humanity's unique ability to destroy a thing and then sell tickets to its funeral. It is the final, perfect, inescapable trap. To be remembered by humanity is to be forever owned by them. Let's linger for a moment on the sheer absurdity of your modern predicament. The creature you were was a masterpiece of biological engineering for a single purpose: to be the ultimate marine predator. Your entire physiology was a love letter to violence. Your reinforced skull was designed to withstand catastrophic impacts. Your massive jaw muscles could generate crushing force. Your sonar was a precision targeting system. Your teeth were, simply put, the most terrifying dental hardware nature has ever produced. You were the endpoint of a specific evolutionary arms race. You were, in your time and in your place, perfect. Now, consider your modern role: a passive object of contemplation, a conversation starter, a screensaver. The disconnect is so profound it borders on the surreal. The very adaptations that made you a peerless killing machine are now the interesting features pointed out by a tour guide to a group of schoolchildren. Notice the robust construction of the mandible, likely used for processing large prey. The guide will say, and the children will nod, their minds struggling to connect the dry, academic words to the reality of what that processing entailed. The screech of tearing flesh, the crunch of bone, the water clouded with blood. All the visceral, terrifying reality of your life has been sterilized. It's been curated. It's been made safe and educational. They have taken your very essence, your lethality, and turned it into a fun fact. This is perhaps the greatest indignity. It's not the mythologizing or the demonizing. It's the trivializing. To be feared is a form of respect. To be hated is a form of acknowledgement. But to be reduced to an interesting exhibit is a form of erasure. They have managed to do what the megalodons in a harsh Miocene environment never could. They have made you boring. They have made you educational. They have made you tame. The ultimate predator, a 50-ton nightmare of teeth and fury, has been domesticated by the narrative of human sentimentality. Your story, which should have been a brutal epic, has been given the soft, gentle treatment of an after-school special. The moral of the story isn't about the harsh realities of evolution or the unforgiving nature of life, but a much simpler, more palatable message. Isn't it sad that this cool monster is gone? We should be nicer to the animals we have left. This is the final layer of the irony. Your terrifying legacy is being used to teach lessons of kindness and empathy, a purpose for which you are magnificently, spectacularly unsuited. You, the embodiment of nature's brutal immorality, have been enlisted to promote humanity's moral aspirations. It is a posthumous career change that is as bewildering as it is insulting. Your ghost is now forced to work in public relations for the very species that would have celebrated your demise. And what of the world you left behind? The ocean you ruled is now a shadow of its former self. The great diversity of whales you once hunted has been winnowed down to a handful of resilient species. The vibrant, chaotic, monster-filled sea of the Miocene is gone, replaced by a quieter, emptier, and profoundly damaged version. It is an ocean of ghosts, the ghosts of the millions of great whales slaughtered for their oil. The ghosts of entire species of fish vacuumed up by factory trawlers. The ghosts of coral reefs bleached bone white by warming waters. This is the world your protectors have created. They stand in their climate-controlled museums, looking at your bones, and feel a sense of loss for your ancient world, while actively presiding over the dismantling of their own. They mourn you, a single, spectacular casualty of a bygone era, while remaining woefully blind to the mass extinction event they are currently engineering. You are a convenient distraction. Your tragedy is large, epic, and safely in the past. It allows them to feel the emotions associated with loss without having to confront the messy, ongoing, and deeply inconvenient losses happening right now. It's easier to weep for a long dead sea monster than it is to change your consumption habits. It's more satisfying to donate to a Save the Whales campaign than it is to demand systemic changes to global industry and energy policy. You provide a vital service. You are an emotional release valve. You allow them to feel that they are engaging with the problem of extinction, when in reality, they are simply consuming a product. The tragedy of the Leviathan is a blockbuster story, complete with a compelling protagonist and a clear, albeit posthumous, villain. It's a much more entertaining narrative than the slow, boring, and complicated reality of modern ecological collapse. So you will hang there in the silent, reverent halls of their museums, a monument not to nature's power, but to humanity's power. The power to destroy, the power to regret, and above all, the power to rewrite any story to make themselves the hero at the end. Your second, eternal life, is to serve as the silent, smiling villain in their feel-good story of redemption. And that, more than any shark or rival, is a fate worse than death. Let's dissect the final layer of this human-centric narrative they've wrapped you in. The concept of legacy itself. Your actual legacy, in a purely biological sense, was a dead end. You were a hyper-specialized predator, a magnificent but ultimately failed experiment. When the climate shifted and your preferred prey dwindled, you vanished. That was it. No grand finale, no torch to pass. A simple, brutal, evolutionary full stop. But humans are not content with such endings. They are obsessed with legacy, with meaning, with the idea that a life must add up to something more than its own existence. So they invented one for you. They decided your meaning wasn't what you did, but what you represent to them. This is the ultimate act of appropriation. They looked at your life of pure, instinctual survival and decided it needed a moral. They looked at your extinction and decided it needed to be a lesson. Your story was co-opted to serve their narrative needs. Think of the sheer audacity. A species that has existed for a mere blip of geologic time looks back at a creature that ruled the seas for millions of years and says, "Your true purpose, your real importance, began when we found your bones. Your entire existence, all the struggles and triumphs, the hunts, the battles, the births, the deaths, all of it was just a prologue. The main event, according to them, is your role as a cultural artifact. You are less a creature and more a text, one they are endlessly reinterpreting. In one era, the text is a religious warning. In another, it's a justification for industrial capitalism. In the current era, it's a sermon on environmental guilt. The text remains the same, your fossilized bones, but the interpretation is always a perfect reflection of their own contemporary obsessions. You are their Rosetta Stone for understanding their own evolving relationship with the natural world. This is why they are so fascinated with you. You are not just an animal. You are a mirror held up to their own species, reflecting back at them their fear, their greed, their cruelty, and now their sentimental, performative regret. And the reflection is always flattering, even in its negativity. To have been a monster capable of destroying something as magnificent as you gives them a sense of epic, tragic power. Even in their self-flagellation, they are still the center of the story. They are the protagonists who fell from grace, and you are the beautiful, innocent world they destroyed. It's a much more compelling narrative than the more accurate version. That they are a relentlessly opportunistic species that strip mines every resource it encounters, and your family was just one resource among many. The final, crushing weight of your legacy is not that you are remembered as a monster or a victim, but that you are no longer remembered as yourself at all. Your identity has been completely and irrevocably overwritten by theirs. You are a page in their history book, a slide in their lecture, a character in their documentary. You have been granted a form of immortality, yes, but it is the immortality of a fly in amber. You are preserved, but you are not alive. You are a perfect, static symbol, forever trapped in the sticky, sentimental resin of the human imagination. This process of cultural taxidermy is now complete. You have been fully processed. The wild, chaotic, amoral creature has been skinned, tanned, and stuffed into a shape that is both impressive and completely safe. They have mounted your head on their wall, not as a trophy of a physical hunt, but as a trophy of a narrative one. They have successfully hunted and captured your story. And there you will stay, an eternal testament to their ability to tame anything, even the past. Every new generation of humans will be brought to see you. They will be told your sanitized story. They will feel the appropriate, pre-packaged emotions of awe and sadness. They will learn the approved lesson about the fragility of nature. And they will leave the museum feeling slightly more thoughtful, slightly more concerned, and fundamentally unchanged. You have become a routine, a ritual in their ongoing cultural performance. This is your final, eternal function. You are a secular saint of a new religion, the Church of Environmental Awareness. And like any good saint, your primary role is to inspire feelings of guilt and devotion in the congregation, who then go about their lives as they did before, secure in the knowledge that they have paid their respects. The irony would be delicious if it weren't so profoundly sad. You, a creature that knew no morality, no sentiment, no guilt, have been transformed into the ultimate symbol of all three. Your life was a testament to the brutal, beautiful, and utterly indifferent reality of nature. Your afterlife, however, is a testament to humanity's desperate, unending need to make everything about themselves. They looked into the abyss of your empty eye sockets, and instead of seeing the magnificent, terrifying void of a world without them, they saw only a reflection. And they fell in love with it. So ends your silent legacy. Not with a roar, but with the quiet, respectful applause of a museum audience, and the gentle ka-ching of a cash register in the gift shop. Your tragedy is complete. Let's pause on that image. The museum gift shop. It is the final, perfect distillation of your journey. The logical endpoint of your posthumous exploitation. Here, your terrifying majesty has been fully commodified, shrunk down to pocket size, and made available for purchase. There you are, your likeness screen printed on a cheap cotton t-shirt, roaring silently from the chest of a tourist. There you are again, a plastic mass-produced toy, your once lethal teeth now smooth, child-safe knobs of molded plastic. Your image is on coffee mugs, keychains, glossy posters, and 3D puzzles. Each item is a tiny, portable monument to your taming. Each purchase is a small, personal act of possessing the monster, of owning a piece of the tragedy. The humans who buy these trinkets are not malicious. They are merely participating in the last stage of the narrative. They saw the exhibit, they felt the prescribed emotions, and now they want a souvenir to commemorate the experience. It is the same impulse that makes them buy a miniature Eiffel Tower in Paris or a snow globe of the London skyline. You have been reduced to a landmark, a stop on the grand tour of human cultural consumption. The money exchanged for these items is, in a way, the final insult. Your relatives were rendered into a monetary value based on the oil their bodies contained. You are now rendered into a monetary value based on the story your bones can tell. The method of extraction has become more refined, more abstract, but the underlying principle is identical. You are a resource to be exploited for human gain. First for your body, then for your story. The system is ruthlessly efficient. They create the narrative of your tragic loss, and then they sell you the merchandise to help you mourn. This is the genius of their modern age. They have found a way to profit not just from destruction, but from the guilt that follows it. You are a prime example of this new, sustainable emotional economy. As long as they feel a little bit bad about your extinction, you will continue to be a profitable intellectual property. Your legacy is not just set in stone, it's copyrighted. And as you hang in the silent, still air of the museum hall, your likeness is being shipped around the world in cardboard boxes, your myth packaged and sold, your tragedy consumed daily with a morning cup of coffee. You have achieved a form of global omnipresence you never could have imagined in life. But it is an omnipresence of a ghost, a brand, a logo. A final, bitter reminder that in the world of humans, everything, eventually, becomes a product. And what of the future? What is the next stage of your posthumous career? Perhaps, as their technology advances, they will do more than just display your bones. Perhaps they will clone you. Imagine that. They might painstakingly reconstruct your genome from fragments of preserved proteins, and after countless failed attempts, bring a living, breathing Leviathan Melville back into the world. It sounds like a triumph, a reversal of the extinction they mourn. But what would that reality look like? Where would you live? In a vast, fortified sea pen? A high-tech aquarium so large it would be a wonder of the world? You would be the ultimate zoo exhibit, a creature born into a cage it could never leave. You would be studied, monitored, and fed a carefully controlled diet of farmed fish. You would never know the thrill of a real hunt. You would never experience the brutal reality of a territorial dispute. You would never feel the vast, open emptiness of the ocean you were designed for. Your every move would be tracked, your every behavior analyzed. You would be a living specimen, a biological marvel, but you would be utterly stripped of your purpose. A king without a kingdom, a predator without prey, a god in a fishbowl. This de-extinction would be the ultimate act of sentimental hypocrisy. They would bring you back not for your sake, but for theirs, to prove they could, to assuage their guilt with the ultimate technological fix. They would look upon you, this magnificent, neutered creature, and congratulate themselves on having corrected a historical wrong. They would celebrate their own power, their ability to play God, while you swam in endless, meaningless circles, a prisoner of their kindness. That might be your final, most tragic legacy. To be resurrected from the dead, only to be imprisoned by the remorseful descendants of those who would have killed you. To be brought back into a world that is no place for you. A living anachronism. A ghost made of flesh and blood. Forever haunting the species that can neither live with you nor let you go. It is a terrifying thought. But the only thing more tragic than being forgotten by humanity is to be remembered by them. Because to be remembered is to be controlled. And to be brought back would be the ultimate, eternal form of control. The story of your interaction with humanity is, in essence, a story about taming. In every era, they have found a new way to tame you. The ancient tribes tamed you with mythology, transforming your frightening, physical reality into a manageable, supernatural story. The medieval cartographers tamed you with maps, confining your boundless terror to the empty spaces on their parchment. The whalers tamed your descendants with cannons and flensing knives, reducing their wild majesty to barrels of oil and slabs of meat. And modern humanity has completed the process, taming your memory with science, museums, and merchandise. You have been intellectually dissected, culturally contextualized, and commercially distributed. The wild thing has been thoroughly domesticated. This taming impulse is one of their defining characteristics. They are not comfortable with things that exist outside their understanding or control. The truly wild, the truly other, is a source of profound anxiety for them. They must categorize it, explain it, conquer it, or, if all else fails, turn it into a sad story to make themselves feel better. You have been subjected to every single one of these processes. You represent one of the wildest things they have ever encountered, even in fossilized form. And they have spent centuries trying to fit you into a box that makes sense to them. The final box, the museum display, is the most effective one they have yet devised. It is a perfect taming mechanism. It presents you as something magnificent, but also as something finished, completed over. It says, "This was a wild thing, and now it is part of our collection." The act of collection is an act of power. It brings the wild thing inside, under a roof, under lights, under human supervision. It strips the object of its own context and places it firmly within theirs. You are no longer a creature of the Miocene Ocean. You are an exhibit in the hall of prehistoric life. Your story is no longer your own. It is a chapter in the story of human knowledge. This is the quiet, final victory they have won over you. They didn't need to fight you directly. They simply outlasted you. And then, when you were no longer a threat, they claimed your memory as a prize. They defeated you not with weapons, but with labels. And as you hang there, silent and still, you are the ultimate symbol of that victory. Your wildness has been preserved, yes, but only in the way a butterfly is preserved by a pin through its thorax. It is beautiful, it is admirable, but it is unquestionably, irrevocably dead. And it is theirs. So what is the final verdict on your two lives? Your first life was a brutal, honest, and ultimately simple affair. It was governed by the clear, unforgiving laws of nature. You were a predator, you lived, you reigned for a time, you declined, and you died. There was a certain purity to it, a magnificent immorality. Your second life, your posthumous existence in the minds of men, has been far more complicated. It has been a story of lies, misunderstandings, exploitation, and a creeping, sentimental hypocrisy that is, in many ways, more horrifying than any act of physical violence. You have been forced to wear 1,000 different masks, none of them your own. You have been a god, a demon, a monster, a resource, a scientific specimen, a movie monster, and finally, a tragic symbol. Each identity was crafted by humans to serve a human purpose. Your own reality was never part of the equation. If there is a final punchline, a single, cynical truth to be gleaned from your entire saga, it is this: it is better to be eaten by a shark than to be loved by humanity. The shark, at least, is honest about its intentions. It kills you, it consumes you, and it is done. The cycle of nature continues, clean and efficient. Humanity, however, is far more insidious. Their love is a form of consumption. They consume your story, they consume your image, they consume your tragedy. They devour you not to sustain their bodies, but to sustain their narratives, their sense of self-importance, their illusions of moral progress. They will keep you preserved in their museums and in their media for centuries to come, a constant, silent reminder of the wild world they conquered. And they will continue to look at you and feel a gentle, pleasing sadness, never once realizing that the greatest tragedy isn't that you are extinct, but that you are forced to be their prisoner forever. Your sentence is to be a perpetual monument to their sentimentality. There is no parole. The cycle of your posthumous use is not over. It is merely in its current phase. As human culture continues to evolve, so too will their use for you. Imagine a future where their virtual realities are indistinguishable from the real world. In this world, you will be resurrected again. Not in a physical clone, but as a digital ghost of perfect fidelity. People will be able to pay for an experience. They will don their headsets and swim with the Leviathan. They will feel the virtual water rush past them as your colossal form glides by. They will witness a simulated hunt, a sanitized, bloodless ballet of pixels where you dispatch a digital prey item with thrilling, but ultimately consequence-free violence. Your terror will become a theme park ride. Your life will become a premium content package, available for a monthly subscription fee. They will experience a manufactured version of the awe and fear your presence once commanded, all from the safety of their living rooms. This digital resurrection is the ultimate taming. It removes all risk, all dirt, all reality. It transforms the most powerful predator in Earth's history into a safe, repeatable, and profitable piece of entertainment. You become a character in their game, a non-player character of immense scale, programmed to perform your natural behaviors on a loop for their amusement. This is the trajectory. From bone, to myth, to product, to pixel. Each step takes you further from the truth of your existence and deeper into the cage of their imagination. Each new technology offers them a new way to own you, to control your narrative, to ensure that you serve their purposes. And the humans of this future will likely believe they are honoring you. They will see these virtual experiences as a way of connecting with the past, of appreciating the wonders of a lost world. They will not see it as the profound act of necrophagy it truly is, the final consumption of a dead creature's soul for the fleeting entertainment of a bored and restless species. Your first death was a simple matter of biology. Your second, third, and thousandth deaths will be at the hands of programmers and marketers, a slow, eternal fading into irrelevance as you are repackaged for each new generation's preferred method of consumption. Your ordeal is not over. It is, in a way, just beginning. Your true extinction will not be complete until the day they finally get bored of you, and the last server hosting your digital ghost is finally switched off.